Jean Luc Picard, a hero of the Federation, one of Starfleet's most decorated and distinguished officers, and a diplomatic master responsible for peace in our galaxy. But was our favourite captain also directly responsible for one of the most devastating conflicts in Earth's history? Yeah, I think so. Hey there Trekkies, my name is Michael aka The Trek Lad and welcome back to my channel. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. This is actually something that I have been wanting to talk about or create a video about since I was 13 years old. Yeah, the Picard paradox. What is the Picard paradox, I hear you say? Well, I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to explain why I think Jean Luc Picard, yeah, the hero of the Federation, is responsible for a whole load of mess. A whole load of mess that could have potentially have been avoided. Now, this is a predestination paradox, or a causal loop if you want to get all fancy, which pretty much means that, what I'm getting to is the fact that Picard, Jean-Luc Picard, was responsible for the Earth-Borg conflict, basically. I know what you're saying. How on earth, he was captured and assimilated by the Borg. How was he responsible for this? He was a victim of it. Yes, he absolutely was, but he was also indirectly responsible for this. I'm going to explain. So, where we start is we start in 2365. Q flings the Enterprise to the J25 system, which is at the very far edges of Federation space. There, the Earth ship, and let's just roll with it. The Earth ship Enterprise encounters a Borg cube. They have no idea what it is. They find out through Guinan and through Q that they are the Borg. They are a ruthless civilization bent on conquering and taking technology mostly back then. Anyway, Picard and crew are able to survive their first encounter. However, they fear that the Borg now know who they are and they are on their way. And that's exactly what happens a year later, 2366, at the end of season 3 in TNG, the classic episode, The Best of Both Worlds. The Borg invade Federation space. They intercept the Enterprise. They demand Picard by name specifically. Obviously Picard says no, because he's like, I'm not going to your ship. But the Borg just beam over, they take Picard, and they assimilate him, they turn him into Locutus of Borg. Now, ultimately, humanity survives because Captain Riker, it's Riker, and a then kind of recaptured and shut off from the Borg Locutus is able to help save and destroy the Borg, and humanity saved and all that kind of stuff. Yay, awesome. If you haven't seen The Best of Both Worlds, why are you watching this? Go and watch it right now. It's way more interesting than this. Anyway, look, getting away from all that stuff, the Borg's conquest into Federation space and Sector 001 is absolutely devastating. We see it in part 2. We see the aftermath of the Battle of Wolf 359. Why did I call it Wolf 359, where over 11,000 souls lost their lives due to the Borg and Locutus being on this rampage towards Earth. So, Picard recovered. They save him, but he is forever affected by this horrendous experience that he has suffered. 6 years later, Star Trek First Contact, the Borg are at it again. They just won't leave us alone. The Borg get even further. They actually get to 001. They have this giant battle in our solar system. Picard and crew are told to stay away because Starfleet I don't know why they told him to stay away. But anyway, Picard isn't having any of that shit, and he and his crew disobey direct orders. They fly to Sector 001 and they save the day. Thanks to Picard's insider knowledge, they're able to focus their weapons on a sector of the Borg cube. They destroy the Borg cube. Yay, awesome, cool explosions. But a sphere emerges from the explosion and creates a temporal vortex. One of those things. They go back to 2063, the day before First Contact, clearly up to some shenanigans, and yeah, Picard and crew, they have to follow them. So they follow them into the temporal vortex, emerging in 2063, and yeah, Picard rightfully destroys the Borg sphere. Now, here in this story is the crucial point, because Picard unleashes a volley of quantum torpedoes, destroys the Borg sphere. Kaboom, awesome. However, we clearly see that the Borg sphere is not vaporized, it's just destroyed. Now, surely Picard, with all of his insider knowledge, would be like, we can't let any of that stuff land on the ground because Borg technology and Borg drones can regenerate, right? Well, anyway, First Contact didn't think about that because it's a movie and we're not supposed to think about such things, but we did. And he could, if he wanted to make sure that this whole thing didn't happen, probably should have recovered the Borg debris. Anyway, he doesn't. They save the day ultimately. They fly off back through this vortex that they somehow magically recreate. I'll get into that in another video, I'm sure. Over 100 years later, 2154, it's not really 100 years later, it's less than 100 years later, 2153, the Borg debris and remnants are found in the Arctic by a group of researchers, and this is documented in the Enterprise Season 2 episode Regeneration. The Arctic researchers, they uncover these Borg drones, and yes, they regenerate. And yes, they assimilate the Arctic research team. Oh no, who on Earth could have seen this coming? I did. You did probably too. Anyway, the recently regenerated Borg and the assimilated Arctic research team, they escape Earth on the Arctic transport, and they're presumably heading off to Borg space. Because that would make sense, right? Archer and the NX Enterprise are ordered to intercept. They do, and they are eventually able to overcome this enemy. The Borg don't tell them they're the Borg, which is quite crucial for maintaining continuity, something that I will refer back to in a little while. But anyway, the Borg, before they're destroyed, are able to transmit Earth's coordinates to somewhere in the Delta Quadrant, which is something that Paul and Archer talk about and ruminate on at the end of the episode, with Archer saying that the message, the coordinates, probably won't be received until midway through the 24th century. Now, this bit is crucial because what is midway through the 24th century? Yes, kind of 2365, the moment when the Enterprise and Jean Luc Picard encounter the Borg cube in J25. Now, it kind of stands to reason that the Borg message, I mean, they're transmitting coordinates, but I guess it could be a thing that the details, there could be more information in that transmission, and there could be information about a one Jean Luc Picard in there, maybe. Now, I know they kind of said it was coordinates, so I mean, it kind of depends on what you choose to believe. Do you believe me, an amateur YouTuber who's telling you that maybe that message could have included more than spatial coordinates? I don't know. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. That is a predestination paradox. Picard ultimately encounters the Borg, goes around in a circle, goes back in time to before he encounters the Borg, destroys the Borg. The crucial part is he doesn't recover and remove any of the Borg debris. If he'd done that, we don't get any of this stuff. We don't get Regeneration Enterprise, we don't get spatial coordinates going to the Delta Quadrant. Now, there are some complications to this theory, and I'm going to go through them because I don't think this is a perfect theory. I do think that we have a predestination paradox, but the whole idea that Jean-Luc Picard is potentially directly and solely responsible, is potentially not true, and I'll go into it. So we have two complications that I can think of. We have Guinan, who is a principal component in the first Borg episode Q Who. It's revealed that she knows who the Borg are ahead of time. You know, she's doing that whole thing with Q, so she knows who Q is, and she also knows who the Borg are. Now, it's revealed later on in Star Trek Generations that the Borg were responsible for the destruction of Guinan's homeworld, the El-Urian homeworld, and that took place nearly 100 years before TNG. So the Borg had presence in the Beta Quadrant in the J25 region of space long before they knew who Jean-Luc Picard were, potentially, and long before they had actually intercepted those spatial coordinates from the Arctic team saying, this is where Earth is, come and have some fun here. Why were the Borg around the J25? Now, it could be that they were just exploring and conquering space. It's known that there's a trans-warp hub nearby in the J25 sector, so maybe they just decided to set up camp there. I don't know, maybe it's just a coincidence coincidence. So you could just kind of wave that one away as being coincidence, but it's interesting. It's interesting. The second complication, and it's the one that kind of breaks everything, thanks Voyager, is the Hansen family, as we saw in Voyager's episodes The Raven, and in more detail in the double episode, or the feature-length episode Dark Frontier. Now, it's revealed that Seven of Nine's parents, the Hansens, are Borg scientists, Borg experts, but the whole flashback takes place in 2353, which is years before the Enterprise and Jean Luc Picard encounters the Borg. Okay. You could imagine that they might have understood, they might have had access to the top secret logs that Archer had made. They could have gained access to all that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem that could be a thing. This information seems to me like it'd be super top secret, maybe. So, but the thing is nobody back then in the early 2350s would have known that there was a cube. No one could have known that the Borg travelled in cubes unless they had gathered some data from some deep space researchers. But again, it's such a stretch. Thanks, Voyager. You potentially destroy this whole causality loop and my whole theory that I've been thinking about since I was 13. Cheers. You could probably just do what I do here and choose to forget about it. It was all Jean Luc Picard's fault. Let's just blame him. For it. There are my thoughts on this Picard paradox. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. What did you think of this video? Me just talking and ranting about my theories about the Star Trek universe. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments. Don't get assimilated. Don't hang out with the Hansens. It's not good for you. Anyway, stay safe. See you next time. Live long and prosper.